Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From mock drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Siggy guns never fail.
What's up, fantasy football fans? My name is JT Magnum, and welcome to week 9 of your Stardom Situm show. Once again, no Siggy. Unfortunately, I didn't know that Siggy is in the process of moving. He's got a lot of things going on, so I don't know when he'll be back. I'm not sure. This happened last year too, so I mean, don't sweat it. but you get to have my picks, I guess, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to tweet at them if you want, at SiggyV on Twitter. And of course, you can always tweet at me at JT_Magnum816. But unfortunately, he won't be here for I don't know. So we'll see what happens with that. But let's get into the Stardom and Situm show. But first, let's talk about the bragging rights for DraftKings. The first winner for the bragging rights was Coolio, and he won that with, I think it was like 145.82 points. I'm kind of looking at it right now. And I was in 5th place in that one. And you can see my lineups on the screen. I'll put it up there for you guys to be able to see it. And you can't see his, but you can see his points, and you can see like my lineup. And the second one, bragging rights 2, Mr. Popeye won that one with 160.62 points, and I was in 5th place again for that one. And you can see my lineups for that. That one, I actually didn't know Ty Montgomery was a late scratch, and I left him in, and I got 0 points for that one, which did me in the end. Looks like I don't know who I would have put in at that time, because I don't remember who it was last week and what their score was, or what their points, or not points, their money total was. So I don't know who I would have put in. But anyways, and the bragging rights 3 was won by yours truly. I actually won that one. It's my first time I ever won anything in DraftKings, even though it's no money for that one, because we didn't play for money. It's all for just bragging rights. So I won the bragging rights for that one. But usually it's 3 contests a week. And then there's other ones that other people create and stuff like that. I can create more if you guys want. Not many people join them, but some of you guys do. And like I said, you can see my lineups on there and everything. But yeah, those are the 3 winners for this week. So congratulations, Mr. Popeye and Coolio. And we'll look forward to you guys doing that this week. The link is in the description, so all you got to do is go to the About tab, scroll down just a little bit, and you'll see the DraftKings League. Join the league, and when you join the league, you can see the contests within the league, and then you can join them. There's free contests, so it's $0. You can just play for bragging rights, like I said. But let's get into the stardoms. There's lots of buys this week. Holy crap. 6 teams again, with the Bears, the Bengals, the Patriots, Cardinals, Redskins, and Texans. So stardom is a little hard when you have only so many teams playing, and so it's really difficult. It's been a difficult fantasy football season in general, especially with the injuries and with trying to pick players with this and that. Every week it's been a little difficult, and I run it through all kinds of statistics. I run it through who they're playing, what's going on, but it's so hard to judge who's doing what. Plus, you can't judge garbage time. There's so much garbage points. Like last week, I said Blake Bortles was a sit. What happens? He was absolutely getting dominated for 3 quarters, and then the end of the 4th quarter, he starts killing it and gets 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Looks like he had the best game ever, but really he sucked for 3 quarters, and then at the end got garbage points. So it's so hard to judge that, things like that, but it happens. It's fantasy football. That's what happens. But let's get into the starts this week. My 3 starts at quarterback are Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco, and Dak Prescott. And I'll talk about Jameis Winston. Atlanta's been giving up 285 yards per game passing. Tampa Bay's at home. He's got that Mike Evans connection. Newly found Russell Shepard since Vincent Jackson went down. Russell Shepard has stepped up, has a couple touchdowns since then. And of course, he has Adam Humphries. So now all of a sudden, the end with also Cameron Brate and players like that. So now Tampa Bay's passing game has gotten pretty well, and along with their running game with Jacquizz Rodgers, who I'm not sure is going to start this week. Oh, that's another thing, guys. Injuries. I don't know all the injuries. Excuse me. I do this show on a Tuesday. So I do this early for you guys because I want to make sure that I get all these picks out to you guys early. So that's what the comment section is for, because players will be injured that I mentioned. Believe me, last week I mentioned Matt Jones. He was injured. I had to plug somebody else in. But just know that I don't know. Like, when you see this, I don't know. I do this on a Tuesday, so I don't know what the injury report's going to be like. I don't know if somebody's going to get hurt during the week. Like, it just, you don't know. So I do this early. Like I said, I mean, Jameis Winston can get hurt. Next thing you know, it's another quarterback in there. So you never know. So bear with me on that, but yeah. But love Jameis Winston this week against the Atlanta Falcons, who cannot stop the pass. And with Mike, and with, like I said, with those weapons on Tampa Bay at wide receiver, look for him to put up some points. Along with the Falcons, they're going to put up points too. So it's going to be probably a high-scoring game with that. It seems like every week is a high-scoring game with the Falcons, especially with the way Matt Ryan and that offense is playing. Then they can't stop anybody, so they have to outscore everybody. So look for a nice, solid game. I don't think it's going to be a defensive battle. Running backs. I have the Saints running backs, Spencer Ware and Kristen Michael. And I'll talk about the Saints running backs. We don't know. I don't know if it's going to be Tim Hightower or Mark Ingram. So far, they're saying they're going to go by running back by committee. Mark Ingram looked like he was benched last week. I don't think he got hurt. And he fumbled that ball. Earl Thomas picked it up, ran in for a touchdown. It just seemed like he was just done after that. It was just Tavares Cadet, I believe, and Tim Hightower running the ball. Well, mostly Tim Hightower. So whichever one is starting is going to have a good game. Whichever one's backing up, probably going to have a good game, because the 49ers are giving up 185 yards per game rushing. They've given up a 100-yard rusher in, I believe, 6 straight games. It's my team. Trust me, I know them. So the Saints, I think, are going to have a field day. It's going to be an offensive explosion for them. San Francisco right now cannot stop anybody. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run. Well, the pass we've been okay at, but that's only because teams are running all over them. So that stat is kind of tarnished with that. But like I said, if it's Tim Hightower starting, start him. If it's Mark Ingram starting, start him. Even if you have Tim Hightower and he's backing up Mark Ingram, I would start him still anyways, because I just think that both will do well. So it's 49ers just cannot stop anybody with the run. It's like last year with Cleveland. Anybody that played Cleveland, just start them. Same thing this year now with the 49ers. Wide receiver starts. I have Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and Willie Snead. And I'll talk about Stephon Diggs. Had a great solid game against the Bears on Monday night. And it was like 8 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. But still, for your PPR people, that's great. Did get a touchdown, so it's decent points. But Detroit's had problems stopping the pass all year. They actually just picked up a cornerback from Tampa Bay. They traded a 7th rounder for him, Jonathan Banks. Nice tall corner, but he's not going to start right away. And they have serious problems. Despite Darius Slay, I think, is their only good cornerback. And I hope I didn't butcher his name or say his name wrong, but I know his last name's Slay. But he's their only good cornerback, and Stephon Diggs is looking like he's getting his his motor back, his wide receiver swag back, because he was out with a groin injury for like a couple weeks, just pretty much messed up for a couple weeks. But he was open on a deep ball yesterday, just missed it. He was open on a few occasions and missed the chance. Sam Bradford actually missed the chance opportunity, but they'll get that fixed up, and I think they'll be hungry and ready to score some points, given the fact that Chicago actually shut them down on Monday Night Football. I love Stephon Diggs, especially going against Detroit. Like I said, that passing defense is not good for Detroit. Tight ends, I have Kyle Rudolph, Kobe Fleener, and Cameron Brayton. I'll talk about Fleener. Fleener, like I said, the 49ers just bad against the pass. The only thing they've been pretty solid on is their corners are pretty solid, so they've been doing pretty well against wide receivers. But I don't think in this occasion that's going to happen, and I think Kobe Fleener is going to benefit because New Orleans does use the tight ends very well, especially on seam routes and everything. The 49ers do not have safeties or cornerbacks, safeties or linebackers that can cover Fleener down the field. I think Fleener's going to actually have a field day, especially if Antoine Bethea or Eric Reed's covering him. Like I said, I know the 49ers. I know how they are on defense. Kobe Fleener is probably going to have a field day against this team. Finally, a nice breakout game maybe for Kobe Fleener, where he probably gets 100 yards and a touchdown, or maybe 2, given the fact that I told you that Niner defense is horrible. Defenses starts, I have New Orleans, Baltimore, and Dallas, and I'll talk about Dallas. Dallas actually played pretty solidly on defense this year. I think part of that is because they just haven't been tired. Their ball control offense helps their defense a lot, keeps them off the field. They've been able to stop the run, get people on 3 and outs, and just, like I said, that offense is so full of ball control, it helps that defense. And Josh McCown starting for the Browns, who's not a bad quarterback. Problem is he's turnover prone sometimes. He's a gunslinger. And with that well-rested Dallas defense going against that, they cause any turnovers. Even if it's in Cleveland, the corners are playing pretty solid. Their linebackers with Sean Lee are playing very well, and their defensive front is actually, they might not generate that much pressure on a quarterback, but they do stuff the run very well. And Dallas is gonna, if you don't run on them and you can't pass on them, it's gonna be a hard, difficult day for Cleveland, especially if they do cause some turnovers. I think Dallas will do that, especially with Josh McCown, because he tends to force some passes here and there. So let's get into the sit-em portion of the Stardom Sit-em show. And the first sits of the week for quarterback are Matthew Stafford, Eli Manning, and Tyrod Taylor. And I'll talk about Stafford. I don't like to sit Stafford. I sat him last time, or wanted to sit him last time against the Texans, and I was actually right about that. He did not have a good game. I don't see him having another good game against Minnesota, who's looking to bounce back, especially with that loss to Chicago. But the blueprint is out kind of on Minnesota. If you have a solid team that can run the ball decently through the tackles, or have a good offensive line, and be able to run the ball and use that, then you have a good chance of beating Minnesota. The problem is Detroit doesn't have a running game, so that leaves just Matthew Stafford throwing the ball, and that plays right into Minnesota's hands with all those corners they have, especially Xavier Rhodes, and the way they play defense with those outside linebackers. There's no way, I don't think, that Matthew Stafford's going to be able to just roam free and throw the ball. Now, if he does get points, it's going to be garbage points. Like I said, I can't predict that, but what I can predict is that Minnesota's going to give him fits all day, because Detroit doesn't have the offensive line to be able to stop that Minnesota pass rush, and on top of that, be able to run the ball on them consistently like the Bears did last week. So let's talk about running backs for sits. Frank Gore, Isaiah Crowell, and Bills running backs. And I'll talk about the Bills running backs. It's either going to be LaShawn McCoy or Mike Gillislee. Not sure which one yet. LaShawn McCoy was out last week with a hamstring injury. Gillislee ran very well, actually, despite the being blown out by New England. Ran pretty well against that New England defense, had like 85 yards, I believe, rushing. But it's hard to run in Seattle. It's hard to run versus Seattle. It's hard to run versus Seattle in Seattle. So that defensive line is pretty tough. And I know they're minus a couple players due to injury and some surgeries happening. I believe Bennett is out, Michael Bennett. And they have injuries at safety with Cam Chancellor, but they were a little vulnerable in New Orleans, but New Orleans' offense is a little different than Buffalo's offense. They're not the same, obviously, and like I said, they're in Seattle this time, and it's tough to play in Seattle, so that defense will be ready, that defense will be flying around, and Bills are going to have a hard time all day. Wide receiver sits. I have Michael Crabtree, Marvin Jones, and Allen Robinson. I'll talk about Allen Robinson. Just Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters is probably going to be shadowing him all day. And KC is one of those weird defenses. They'll play really well at times, especially at home. Sometimes they're a little iffy on the road, but at home, they're very solid defense. They play very well. They play well together. And I think they're going to cause some turnovers. And even though, right now, Jacksonville has some offensive problems. They fired their offensive coordinator. So they got a new offensive coordinator coming in. They're going to try some different stuff. But Blake Bortles is a little turnover prone sometimes. And I see KC jumping some routes. I see them shutting down the wide receivers. And I think it's going to be a rough day for Jacksonville all day. Especially, like I said, in KC. They're tough. They're tough when it comes to playing in Kansas City. Tight ends. I have Zach Ertz, Eric Ebron, and Julius Thomas, and I'll talk about Ebron. Minnesota's been tough on tight ends pretty much all year. Zach Miller did have a couple catches in that Monday night game, but I don't see Eric Ebron being able to get free and doing anything against them, and he's coming back from injury as well. Like I said, those linebackers from Minnesota cover pretty well. The safeties play pretty well as well, even though they are minus Sendejo, I know, for Minnesota. But still, it's going to be a tough time for Matthew Stafford to get that ball free, especially with that pass rush and the way Minnesota's angry. They've lost a couple games straight, and they're playing at home. I think they're going to bounce back really well, especially. And I feel bad for Detroit because they got to play the team that lost 2 straight. So now they're going to have to take the brunt of that punishment that Minnesota's probably going to deliver. Defenses. I have Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Los Angeles. And I'll talk about Pittsburgh. With Landry Jones at quarterback, I have a hard time with Pittsburgh's defense because it's a lot more 3-and-outs than it is with Ben Roethlisberger. And on top of that, he takes he just doesn't read, obviously, the defense as well, as well as Ben Roethlisberger. He tends to throw interceptions, tends to have a lot more turnovers with Pittsburgh when it comes to Landry Jones having the ball. So with that, I think they're going to have a tough time stopping Ravens. If there are any turnovers, Ravens get the ball in Pittsburgh territory. They're going to give up a lot of points, and I just don't see the Pittsburgh defense, who's had a rough time against the pass this year, being able to stop Baltimore's pass offense. And on top of that, minus their run stopper, and on top, that's why, Jay Ajayi ran for like 200 yards against them. So look for Terrence West to try to run the ball, especially against them as well. And Baltimore doesn't give up on the run, a lot of play action. So I see a lot of points getting scored by, not a lot, like 40 points or anything like that, but I think there's going to be some pretty decent points, above 20, obviously, for Baltimore. And Pittsburgh's going to have a tough time scoring because the Ravens defense is not bad at all. But like I said, with Ben Roethlisberger not there, it's harder for Pittsburgh to score. So that does it for the Stardom Cinema Show. If you have any comments, please let me know in the comment section what you thought or some players you might like. Guys, thank you once again for the comment section. I want to give a shout out to Vault Boy and Statistics Guy. They are all over the comment section. They've given some great insight and great comments and help to you guys. So if they give you some help, please feel free to listen to them. I guarantee that, I think Vault Boy had like 22 of 26 correct. He messaged me on the on there talking about he had 22 of 26 correct. Statistics Guy gives you a lot of stats and a lot of insight, and I appreciate your guys' help. I mean it. Period. Like I said, I'll be in contact with you guys because I just want to bring some guys to Fantasy Football Fiends that do take passionate approach to fantasy and like to do this kind of stuff, because you want to collaborate with people like that. It just helps you out. It helps everybody else out. And like I said, we're one big fantasy football family, so that makes it fun and more, and just gives you more knowledge and gives you more help. And if that's the case, then so be it. I would love to do that. So like I said, guys, I'll be in touch with you. But yeah, everybody help each other out in the comment section. Keep up what you're doing. And best of luck to you in DraftKings this week against us. And best of luck to you in your Week 9 fantasy. These sleepers will be tomorrow. Don't know if I'm going to do the DraftKings on Thursday. I might skip it. It depends on how my schedule is working. But sleepers will definitely be up tomorrow. And that's it. All right. So best of luck Week 9. Take care. I'm out. Peace, y'all.